What's going on, everybody? It's Lucky Finn Gaming here, and welcome back to Ark Survival Evolved, where today we're going to take a second look at the Shadowmane. Without further ado, let's get into this. Alright guys, and to start with, what you'll need is you'll need some fish. Now, I'm not just talking some regular old fish meat. What you're actually going to need is these guys here, these fish traps. So you need to put these fish traps down, and you'll need to actually catch some fish in these fish traps, and then proceed to give them to a sleeping Shadowmane. And so you'll need to find a Shadowmane that's asleep. There's tons of tutorials on how to do it, so I will go ahead and leave that to people like Nooblets, who will give you a better tutorial on how to do that, because they figure out all kinds of cool ways to do it. So I'll go ahead and leave that with them, and I will just stick mostly to my review of the animal itself. Alright guys, so back to the review. So one thing I only briefly mentioned in my overall review of all the animals was that there are two animals here. We have a female here, which as you can see looks a little different from the male. So these two will have one special separate ability. So the female, if you go into invisibility mode, I've heard it's supposed to make other animals around go invisible. However, I don't think that is true. I think that's just hype that was given to the Shadowmane, because after my last review, obviously there was a little backlash on the whole. I didn't think the Shadowmane was exceptionally special, and I still believe that. I'm not backtracking that opinion, and I will tell you why here in a few moments. But I haven't seen any ability to make other animals around the female Shadowmane go invisible. However, the male Shadowmane does have the ability to get a pack buff. As you can see here, if you roar, it will give a pack buff to this one and the female. Now, as far as I've seen, it only gives it to between a male and a female, so only these two will actually get this. If you had a third Shadowmane, if it's a female, I think it will get it, but if it's another male, it will not get that pack buff. So that is something to keep in mind when running Shadowmanes. Now what this gives it is, as you can see, it gives it a pretty decent speed boost, it gives it an attack boost, and a few other things. So, that's just one of those abilities. The male also does have the ability to go invisible, like the female. So that is always a good thing. And all of them have this special dash jump that I'm going to show you right here. And I'm going to fall right off the thing there. That is fantastic. That's what I wanted. Awesome. And then the ability that we couldn't figure out the other day is this one right here, where if you get them caught in that little bubble there, as you saw a moment ago, it will you'll actually teleport to these animals and attack them, just like that, in kind of a lightning attack. It's actually pretty cool. Another interesting thing about the Shadowmane is it is actually particularly adept at swimming. In fact, as I go into more of the animals around Genesis 2, you will find that all of the animals actually seem to be particularly adept at swimming, which is very different from previous updates where they just kind of ignore the water entirely. But almost every animal in this update actually has the ability to swim, which I find very interesting. Is if you open up their inventory, you'll see that every single one of them has this here, which is called natural armor. Now, the natural armor is purely dependent on the level of the animal, but as you've seen, they don't require a saddle to ride, and these are spawned in at maximum level, and because of this, their armor is 124. So it's not bad armor. It's as high as I've ever seen it go, is about 124. So that's about as half as good as a Maxcraft Ascendant saddle, which on official you're never going to get. So that's actually really good armor. So they're not armorless like you would expect most of these animals to be. Guys, and now we come to the main question of the video. Do I change my opinion on the Shadowmane? Well, honestly, that answer is no. I still think this thing only gets a meager 8 out of 10, just because of, well, there's actually several reasons. While the Shadowmane does get several pretty cool abilities, that are very interesting, don't get me wrong. But I just don't think the Shadowmane here has that one single X factor that really puts it in, that would really put it in, like, a 10 out of 10 status. Just because it's kind of hard to explain. It's really good at head-to-head combat. I've seen these things straight up 1v1 Rexes and Mammoths and other things and come out on top. But unfortunately, these things aren't actually going to give you any favors against Wyverns, Gigas, or Managarmers, or anything like that. And this is why I honestly don't change my opinion very heavily. It is a very PvP-oriented animal, and while that is great and all, it just doesn't bring anything else to the table. Like, the Maywing is able to literally incubate your babies for you. And the Space Dolphin is a spaceship. I mean, come on, you can't really beat that. But overall, the Shadowmane to me just doesn't bring anything super special to the table that warrants, mass taming and breeding. That's just my opinion. I had some people get upset with me, even on the people on Bloodsport who watch my videos. There was actually somebody in the last video who was upset because he felt like I didn't cover the Shadowmane well enough. But that was just because I needed to make a shorter video. I mean, that one was already like 20 minutes long, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. But overall, is my opinion on the Shadowmane unchanged? No, it remains unchanged. I wouldn't personally come to Genesis Part 2 specifically for this animal. It just is not. It just does not warrant that. It's like I said, it's good to have head-on-head combat if you're fighting like another land animal, like a golly, that sound over there sounds awful. If you're fighting like another Rex or something like that, this thing might be good. Or maybe even Allos. This thing would fight some Allos and get away with it. But overall, I just don't think this thing brings anything super special to the table that warrants specific tame. So, but that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you don't mind hitting that like button and subscribe, and I will see you all at another time and dimension, whenever or wherever that may be. Till then, peace out.